And here I am again. The next video is talking about coalition, and I only want to talk to you about two things, and this is going to be a short video. Do you consider yourself an ally? And if you do, what does that look like? If you self-identify as an ally, who gave you permission to do that? And how do you know that you're an ally? So over the last 10 to 15 years, maybe, there's been some pushback around allyship and the term ally and what it looks like. And what people are saying, really, they're challenging these self-proclaimed allies because sometimes these individuals cause more harm than people who do not identify as allies. Because sometimes allies think that they have a blank slate to do whatever they want and they cannot do anything wrong. They can't offend anyone. They have some things to learn, but not that much. And they may say that they have things to learn. But they actually don't look or behave as if they have things to learn. They just move along as if they're the experts of everything. So that's why the pushback is that the term actually is empty. It means nothing, because if you're not actively acting to influence colonization, racism, sexism, name it, you're not an ally to anyone. You're an ally to yourself. And that is because it serves your purpose to say that you're an ally and it makes you look good and you feel good. So that's something to think about when you say that you're an ally. And if you did ask a group or an individual to say, do you think I'm an ally? Consider what they would say if they respond from a critical, anti-racist, anti-colonial perspective. What do you think they would say? Maybe ask and see what people say. That would be interesting. And let us know if you do that. So how does allyship affect coalitions? Who is involved in coalitions? Who benefits? Who's excluded? Those are things to ask about coalitions. So, if you are a part of a coalition that meets during the daytime, 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, or 10 o'clock, how do you expect people from the community who are working to attend that meeting? What kind of coalition is it in that case? If you have your meeting at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, still, who is excluded? Because if people have children and they have to go from work to home and look after children and help them with their assignments and so on and so forth, who's going to attend? And who has the power? Who's got the decision-making power in this coalition? What do they look like? How do they identify? Because that's how you know if coalitions actually work. It's great to have this lovely title of coalition and this romanticized notion of, oh, we are all working together and we have this focus for working at this challenge or this cause. But somebody is always in charge. Who's calling the meetings? Do you have meetings that are accessible? And I mean fully accessible. Can people enter your building if they can't physically show up? Can they be a part of the meeting through video or phone or those kinds of things? Those are some of the questions to ask yourselves and the people with whom you are members of coalitions. We have some in the city of St. John's. If you're being paid as a member of a coalition, what does that mean? when other people are not being paid because they're considered community people. Where does that put you on the power scale? Now, as social workers, I'm going to put the two pieces together now, allyship and coalitions. When you march in, we march into a space and say that we're allies within a coalition, how do we influence this process when we show up as social workers who are paid, working a certain shift or certain time of day? How do we challenge what we see as social injustice or exclusion? Are we comfortable doing that? Are we able to do that if we identify it? What are some of the things that we can actually do to open this space up to people who are traditionally excluded and marginalized from these spaces? If you have a coalition for homelessness or street-involved people, and you have two people with lived experience who are homeless or living in shelters or couch surfing or someplace like that, how do you think they can influence your process? What happens if the person is considered unkept and they show up to a meeting with officials, administrators, managers that are talking about homelessness? 9 out of 10 of them have never experienced homelessness. They have no idea what that is. If you're talking about homelessness in the city of St. John's, there's a large percentage of indigenous peoples that are homeless, and people with mental health conditions, and people that live in poverty. How do you address the needs of the people in your coalition if the people with the lived experience are not at the table? And when I say lived experience, I mean people with lived experience here and now, because I have lived experience as an immigrant, but I have been in Canada for many years. So my immediate experience as an immigrant is a bit in the distant past. Now, unfortunately, things around settlement and integration, really, they have not changed. And so, I can say that I have that lived experience because I do. And I can say something that closely relates to what somebody who just came to Canada 3 months ago or 6 months ago or a year ago is experiencing, as I said, because things haven't changed. But it's really important to get people who are living the experience in the moment, rather than stacking your coalitions with people that might have been poor a long time ago, or people who might have been immigrant a long time ago, or any other conditions. See, it's really important, right? And it's also really important to have numbers. So if you have a coalition for people that are homeless, and there's only 1 or 2 people that are currently homeless, there is a problem with that. Because you're going to sit around the table and talk around the issue and make recommendations and suggestions that have already been documented before. So when you're part of a coalition, you need to also ask yourself the question, what is it I'm doing in this coalition? Are we doing anything new? Do we need this particular coalition, or can we use our focus to influence change that we already know about, that people have told us about? Right? So I want to encourage you to think broadly about allyship and coalition and how they come together, and how social workers can influence the process of coalition forming and maintenance, and how we either support the status quo or we challenge it, and what that might look like. And how do we do that? I'll leave you with that.